So if you are feeling disappointed with spirituality, if you're feeling disappointed with the path that you've been on for a short period or for a long time, if you are feeling some disillusionment about this whole process, then there's some good news there and there's some bad news there. So let's talk about the good news and the positive side of spiritual enlightenment, disappointment. You will be disappointed with enlightenment. I can guarantee you that. There is a part of you, there's the separative ego mind that will completely be disappointed with it because it doesn't stack up to the mind's ideal of what it should be, of how it should be, of what it's going to look like. It's always forever in this fantasy fixed dimension. So when awakening actually does occur, the mind is disappointed. I remember this very clearly happening to me. So I had been through this long period of non-abiding awakening from 2004 to 2010, about 6 years, where I would come and go for weeks or months at a time in these peak experience um, periods of what I thought was the de facto defining quality of spiritual awakening. So I would come in and out of it, and then finally, what happened was I was reading an article online, and uh, it it just clicked. Something about it clicked with me, and I got up and thought, this is interesting. And I started to go into another little peak experience, but something felt very, very different about it that caught my attention. And what was, I knew that something important had happened, but it wasn't, here's the disappointment part. It wasn't this grandiose fireworks, oh, I've been shot off into some other dimension, or I've realized something so utterly, completely profound about myself that it's earth shattering. It wasn't that. Um, it was more or less a, really? This is it? I mean, it can't be this. I mean, come on. And I want to talk about this positive side of it because it's really strange. It's good news again, and it's sort of to one part of you, it's bad news. Um, where you are right now, okay? Let's I'm gonna briefly pause my talk, okay? We're gonna breathe and make sure that you're with me in the moment here. Okay, here we go. Just relax. Notice your body. Notice awareness itself. Okay. So, right here, there's not a big difference between final awakening and what you're experiencing if you're resonating with this stillness, with this moment, with this relaxation. If you're resonating with it, there's not a whole lot of difference between awakening and what you're experiencing right now. There's almost no difference. Now you have to admit, what if, well, let's say this. What if this was it? This is it, my friend. This is as good as it's ever gonna get. Your enlightenment, your awakening. Okay? This is it. All right? Nothing else that's coming along to save your butt. So there was for me, in hearing this, a certain quality of disappointment. Of, I expected more. Shouldn't there be something a little better than this? No. Stop all of your expectations. and welcome in this disappointment. Trade in your separation, your unhappiness, your fear, your anxiety, your unlove for disappointment. Does that make sense? Isn't disappointment a lot better than all the rest of that bullshit? Trade it in. Right now. And this is the beneficial side of disappointment. Inevitably, you will be disappointed. There is no way that the actual attainment of spiritual awakening that I know and that is commonplace today and is available to you, there's no way it's going to live up to the historical, social, and mental and personal ideas that you have going on about what enlightenment is. It will never live up to that. So be disappointed. Embrace that disappointment. Trade it in. Trade all the other stuff in. Your unhappiness, your depression, your anxiety, your separation, your unlove. Trade all that crap in for disappointment and see what happens. I'd like to address some other part of this which can be confusing for people. For those of you who have experienced these satori's, for these openings, these moments of great unity, it's really confusing because when you have a glimpse into that world, it seems like, oh, that's it, and now that's what I want. that's what you think awakening is. But it is not. The truth of the matter is that awakening is 90% day-to-day operational utilitarian stuff. And it does not contain the quality that you had during that blissful experience. It doesn't. So you need to find this awakening that is grounded in the part of you that's just operational and utilitarian. Not the part that's experiencing some peaceful, meditative, blissful state elsewhere. Right here, right now, eyes open. And this is where awakening takes place. The real, authentic marriage part of it. But it is confusing, and I did the same thing. I desperately wanted it to be a constant space of freedom, bliss, whatever. I desperately wanted that. It's more or less what's crazy about this process is before awakening, you're often us urgent seekers, those who really are looking for it. Okay, we're very feeling the shadow of our separation to a large degree, and so it's painful. And then you have this bliss that rockets your feeling state up to between 90 and 100% of greatness, and then you drop back down to 30, 40%. And it sucks. If you've had this experience, you know what I'm talking about. It's like taking a UFO ride to the far side of the galaxy, and then in the blink of an eye, they drop you off in the street corner. Where awakening itself actually takes place, this utilitarian disappointment part of it, okay, is at these levels that are like, you don't ever go back down to 30 or 40%. In the utilitarian energies, in the day-to-day operational quality of awakening. You're residing more or less like I more or less reside probably 70, 75. I'm not having a peak blissful experience all the time, but I feel pretty good. I'm pretty okay. On some days, I'll have low energy and drop down to like, in the 50s or 60s. Don't want to get out of bed. The weather's gray. Ugh. And then there are times, of course, yes, when when the flower blooms and you have a peak experience. But find this disappointment that I'm talking about. Trade all your separate unlove and feeling and those things in. Trade it for this disappointment and see what happens. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm Jeff Stewart Dixon. You can leave comments at bluecollar-enlightenment.com. It's always good to hear from you in one way or another. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great one. Bye-bye.